Walt Disney had started working on Disneyland, and the project was going well, but it was very chaotic. They didn't really have any way to knit all of the different lands together. They had been building and bringing in people and all, and Walt and Beckett said, you need someone like Ruth Shellhorn to come in and pull this all together. So Disney hired her. She actually wasn't that anxious to work for him. She thought an amusement park was kind of a tacky thing and a little beneath her. But when she met him, he was so enthusiastic, and she thought, okay, I can do this. So she did. And she came on board originally. They were just going to have her help liaise between the planning and design team, but she was put immediately onto the design team, but it was an all-male design team. I would say there was some question as to whether or not the men on the team were thrilled to have a woman there. And also because she was so well educated. Some of the men there, like Jack and Bill Evans, were absolutely superb nurserymen and horticulturists, but neither of them had degrees in landscape architecture. Neither of them knew how to do surveying. All kinds of skills that she brought to the job really put her at a little bit of odds. You know, she told me one day that at lunch, when the whistle blew, all the guys got into a pickup truck and drove off to lunch together. She was standing out in the middle of a dirt field. And I think it hurt her feelings quite a bit. But the engineering crews seemed to think she was wonderful. At night, she would go home and read the plans and come in and say, you know, your curb is 18 inches above the roadway here. And they just threw their arms around her. They were happy to have the help. You know, it was a mixed bag. Walt Disney really respected her. He knew that she was doing the right thing for him, and he tried to make an effort to make sure that she knew that she was appreciated. She worked on Disneyland really for only 4.5 months, but she did manage to pull together the pedestrian circulation system. Jack and Bill Evans had been collecting trees and shrubs from all over the Southland for 2 years, and they had a big nursery on the back lot of Disneyland. And she used to do what she called shopping. She would go shopping. And Jack had been very careful about matching trees, for instance. So when they wanted to put the elms, Chinese elms, down Main Street, she was able to select from trees that pretty well matched and then devise a cadence and systematic movement of visual items from the entrance all the way down to Sleeping Beauty Castle. Disney wanted an eternal spring. He thought the deciduous plants were not good. She eventually persuaded him that the color and contrast of deciduous and evergreen was okay, and he relented on that. But what she had to do at the Plaza Hub was create this garden, but also introduce all of the different lands that it led into. It was really a tough job. I mean, she was explaining to me how hard it was to do this dry and dusty frontier land and then go off to Tomorrowland and go off to Fantasyland. And all of them were different. But what she did do is knit the entire Disneyland together through the placement of about a dozen main trees throughout the entire place, so that there was a sense that it was all unified. And then she started working with different kind of choice plant materials to differentiate the different areas of Disneyland. So people really, I don't think, were mostly aware, but they were moving through an area and they'd know when they came to a new area, in good part because of the plant material. For Disneyland, Ruth was trying to create an environment. And as time went on and Jack and Bill Evans were telling the story of Disneyland after Ruth left the team, they kept saying the plant material tells the story. And so, for instance, when Ruth was designing the area around Sleeping Beauty Castle going into Fantasyland, she used a melaleuca that has these twisted branches and little tiny leaves, and it looks a little bit like briar brambles and all. And so she was, even then, early on, picking up on that theme of trying to design the plant story to go with the greater overall story. The Plaza Hub was supposed to be an eternal spring, so there was a lot of flowering material, and yet she transitioned going off into the New Orleans area. She used all white flowering plants, so there was white oleander and white pear, and it picked up on all the white trim of those houses that at the time was quite common. So it told the story. She knew plant material very well, and so she was able to set a standard even then that is now still being used by the Imagineers, and that, you know, Bill Evans and Jack Evans carried on. They stayed on afterwards and worked on other Disneyland projects. But that idea was carried on.